Hello, I'm Jeremy Rivera, your Unscripted SEO podcast host, and I'm here with the legendary Patrick Stox, who I've known quite a while now. I think most people in SEO should be familiar with him. If not, lift up the rock, guys. It's, kind of nice out in the sunshine. He's been with Ahrefs for a while, but now he's striking out on his own, and I'll add links to his stuff at the end. If anybody's looking for a great consultant, you would be a fool to pass up the opportunity to pick up Patrick. While I assume people know you, let's go back in time and history and talk a little bit about your past. Tell us where you've been and where you've gathered your expertise in SEO.
Yeah, most recently was about 6.5 years at Ahrefs. I was at IBM for like 4 years before that. I was at an agency for a little while. I'm back to doing solo consultant, but I did that for a few years before that. I was in-house, mid-size B2B company. And long time ago, I was actually a developer.
Well, I know that you have those developer chops because, I think at Ahrefs your official position was in the product manager seat. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you built some stuff. Tell us some of the stuff you built.
Man, I was looking at this the other day of like the product line and like so much of the new stuff were like my tools, my ideas, my roadmaps. But even when I joined, like we were in the process of an infrastructure changeover. So if you remember when the version 2 became version 3, I had a lot of influence on that, getting all the history and that kind of stuff accessible. And yeah, lots of charts, lots of reports. Page inspect, site structure, obviously huge impact on site audit. I should do one of those. Do you know the guy, what was it, Atlassian? He did that like breakdown of all the stuff he worked on. Should make a video like that for Ahrefs. But it might come off as like too braggy or something. I don't know. It might go off poorly. But a lot of things there.
Is there a tool that you dreamed up that you didn't get a chance to build?
Yeah, many. There's I mean they still have a giant backlog over there of things. I would say even ones that just never kind of like worked out the way that they should have. Page inspect, I always wanted the visualization, so we did a lot of like rendering and stuff, and basically the legal team was like, you can't show that. Oh, like we're storing the content. That's not great. Yeah, I know, like that was, well, some of that kind of made its way into Firehose if you've checked out like firehose.com. So having like the web history, being able to monitor, anything on any page, that kind of stuff was, it was supposed to be kind of a combination of like visual ping and like archive.org, basically.
From an SEO tools perspective, being part of Ahrefs, you have really gained that 800-pound gorilla reputation in the niche, in the industry, at Ahrefs. Do you think that that's helpful or hurtful to the SEO industry overall because you have, $100 price point between you and SEMrush, and anybody looking to develop an indie SEO tool, you immediately get compared to, well, I could just go to Ahrefs, and is this really unique? Am I willing to, should I, just do Ahrefs, or does what you do in the separate indie SEO SaaS actually something unique and different? So I guess introspective question of being one of the two 800-pound gorillas, is that really good for the industry, or does it pose some challenges?
Uh, Both. I don't know. Like it's good to have a tool you can trust and rely on. And at the same time, I think there is plenty of space for more niche tools. There's been a lot that like just came out, kind of carved their own space, like keyword insights and tons of content tools and that kind of stuff that they can focus and do things better than the big ones. They can move a little faster at times. At least I hope there's space because I plan on building some things.
Speaking of that space, what's it like sharing some of that space with a tool that also is going to be helping a lot of people fill that space? We've got AI capabilities, and part of the dream that they sell is, hey, you can vibe code your own shit. But then that means, we have more SaaS capable people who just have this weird idea and they can get it to market faster. But then you also have that side play of those people have the budget. They can vibe code their own stuff. What does that interplay look like?
Yeah, I mean, you can, but will the data be as good? There are other data sources that are very much not as good as Ahrefs, for instance. So like quality is going to matter. People that have built their own tools know too, like there can be upkeep and all kinds of like issues that you got to resolve. And realistically, like if you're one person and you're suddenly responsible for 10, 15 tools and that's only part of your job, are you going to like build as good of a tool as someone who has entire like product teams? Good question. I don't know that will ever really like work out that well. Yeah, some people will build some very niche things, and they'll get a lot of use out of that. Even Ahrefs, so like they built Agent A, and like that actually was really cool internally. I was a fan because like it was so hard for the product to mix like data sets. Or in the dashboard is kind of like things have to be there in 2 seconds or people are like pissed. So the responses had to just be there instantly. Now with AI, mixed data sets, you could wait a few minutes to build stuff, or I like build again like new databases that store the stuff and then present it faster for you and that kind of thing. And I think it's a really cool time to be building stuff.
Do you think that, as a potential SaaS developer, that the broader acceptance of the beta test culture really helps, meter those expectations when the big boys break their stuff consistently, and it kind of makes it possible for you to succeed as a SaaS with a little less polish?
I mean, even Ahrefs, like the motto was like, first do it, then do it right, then do it better. So Ahrefs like broke stuff, but usually like even like version ones of stuff sometimes were almost embarrassing to put out. I don't mean to sound that way. I love the tool, love the product, love the company, people, everything. But it's like it's version one. It's very much an MVP. And then we do a big announcement, people try it and they're like, oh, that sucks. And if they come back like 6 months later, it's awesome. So there's a lot of that I think people don't realize that goes on. But yeah, smaller companies, yeah, you're gonna break stuff too, and hopefully, your customers forgive you and stick with you. It's just the reality of things when you're trying to do a lot, or you're dealing with giant data. And Ahrefs, like the infrastructure alone was like absolutely insane. Like I have no question I could never copy something like that. Like no, nowhere even close. But and that means I'll never like get their data from crawling and that kind of stuff. So when I go do stuff, it's gonna have to be a smaller scale, potentially a little worse data, or I have to, potentially just do integrations, allow uploads of stuff because people are probably already going to have, an Ahrefs or SEMrush. They're going to have a Screaming Frog. They're going to have other tools that like they're not going to go away from using those. They might use some of the things I built for other things, but like they're going to have their core tools still.
Tell me about Tech SEO Connect.
Yeah. That is our Tech SEO conference. We are now in the third year. It's going to be November 5th and 6th, I want to say, in Durham, North Carolina, and it's awesome. Like we keep changing the venue. We make it hard on ourselves every year. We bring different stuff. And yeah, it's great content, great people, lots of time for networking. We try to have amazing food, drinks, and just some fun stuff. Like we had a couple themes last year of de-stressing, and then everyone on stage is talking about like AI and automating everything. And like we had some real content creators in the space. We had this guy, Chris, he's the poetry fox, and he's like the poet laureate in Durham. He dresses in a giant fox costume. You give him a word, he bangs out a custom poem on the typewriter. Love every second of it. Yeah, and we had stuff like puppies just to like help manage stress and stuff, because everyone's, with AI especially, it's causing a lot of like burnout. It feels like it should be taking stuff off your plate, but it's change and then more to learn and more to do and more ideas, and people are stressed.
One of my last guests that said, I think it was Paul Pape, he said, uh, LLM and creating content at scale is now table stakes for small businesses for across the industry. What then, if that's, the baseline entry point, what is the frontier?
To actually make that content better. Yeah, anyone can put out any number of pages. I'm literally like rebuilding my personal website, and there's a whole like tech SEO hub of, I don't know what it's up to, 160 some pages or something right now. And it's all AI generated. Now, will it stay that way? The answer is no. Like, I actually will go through. I'm hoping I'll get some friends to like go through, add comments, tell me where I got stuff wrong. I have a feature actually where I'm going to have like users be able to report something's like inaccurate. Um, but I did some stuff like summaries and, I checklists and like stuff that's actually like useful. And I don't see enough of that. Yeah, you can generate a bunch of stuff now. But if you're just using it for content, like just the content, that's it. Like you're not doing a summary, you're not providing, resources, links, because these things, they go out, they do the research, they create briefs. Well, then if you're not like sourcing where you got something, what's the point? So yeah, anyone can do it, but it's a matter of, can you do it well? Can you actually go and, now we've got systems that you could actually just have messages on Slack or emails or text messages, or have AI call people who are experts on every one of these topics, and just do it once, twice, 3 times a week, whatever your content needs are. Message 5 people in your company that are actual experts that know these things or in your industry, and like have them, answer some questions, get some insights, get some stories, experience, real experience. And I don't see people really doing that. They're expecting, this content that's generated to just work. And the reality is, you've probably seen the Mount AI stuff. It goes up, it goes down. And if you're not doing something different, if you're not doing something better, if you're not adding value, like that's absolutely going to happen, especially with informational content.
What are some of the methods that you are turning to in your consultation to generate, that unique information gain? What are some workflows or processes that you're recommending, instead of having somebody sit down and just put in prompts? Is there some alternate process that you're embracing or encouraging?
Yeah, again, I talked about like reaching out to the experts already, but leveraging any unique data that you have. Generally, I wouldn't even recommend a programmatic project unless like you've got something unique, different. If you're a directory, well, you've got reviews or whatever. Everyone's got reviews, but like, what if you did scoring? What if you did like a market analysis? Like, there's so much opportunity for every one of these types of projects to do something different. What's the sentiment? What is the brand search volume for each of these companies? I would kind of give you an idea of where they are in the market for the position. Why is no one doing that?
What um what would you say is your hot take in the SEO industry right now? What's the most controversial thing that you'd put out there about SEO?
Uh, that I think SEO is part of geo. So I know like people are saying it's the same, but really, if you're going to influence these systems, it's more than SEO. Like SEOs can only do so much. If you've got a problem with your product, the easiest way to get the LLM or the AI search system to say something different, go fix that. Because if people are complaining on the internet, that's what it's gonna say. So it's business, it's branding, it's so much more. Like these things is like you actually have to, be a better company, build a better product, improve your services. Because the things that people are constantly complaining about, SEO can't cover that up at a certain scale. If you're a mom and pop, a local business, maybe an SEO can work with that. But big companies, they don't have enough SEOs on their payroll to like go and like change the opinion of the internet.
That's a good point because I was following a thread this morning about LLM tools seeming to hold a grudge. Like if you got a negative review and picked it up, it seemed to echo for a lot longer than any good one. But they dug into it a little bit more and realized that it's because that same problem occurred again in another one of your reviews. And so the sentiment was there because the sentiment's there. And it's kind of uh stepping away from that golden age of SEO 2010 to 2020 where Google was monopolistic, SEO was ascendant, and you didn't have to do anything other than open Ahrefs or SEMrush, crank out some articles, find some backlinks, fix some tech SEO problems, and you're square. You don't have to worry about uh, rogue LLM models ingesting comments from Reddit and surfacing it. We are entering a much more competitive era. You have genuine entries from Perplexity, Claude, Copilot, Gemini, that their models operate differently functionally, and there are things that you can do now specifically for Claude or specifically for GPT that don't seem to move the needle on the other models and also have their own separate impact on SEO. So it's a bit of a wild, wild west and a bit of a scrum, but I'm actually kind of grateful. Are you?
Yeah, it's they're gonna go through the same learning curve that like Google did. A lot of the stuff that works too well now, they're gonna have to dial it back. I think we already saw that with like listicles and stuff, which I think about a year and a half ago I was saying that's the first thing they're gonna kill off. Like no way. 'Cause, I mean, anything that SEOs like scale and start kind of spamming, they're gonna dial it back. Like it might work now, it might hurt you in the future. um, it might hurt you for a long time. Like if you really abuse these systems, I think SEOs got lucky with Google. We got Penguin and stuff, and for a few years that was really painful. And then like what was it, 2016-ish? They're just like, oh yeah, we forgive all your bad links. Like, no worries. They could have held that over us for another like 10, 15 years. Easy. And these AI search systems, like they may make that decision. So some of the stuff that I'm seeing companies do now, I'm like, that's obviously a bad decision. And the question is, how long will that hurt you? How long will they hold a grudge against you? So I think you got to be a little careful on that kind of stuff too.
I've always find at conferences the best SEO wisdom doesn't happen on the stage, no offense, but it's in the conversations at the bar. It's in the hallway afterwards where you find that weird anecdote from the guy sitting around with the snack and you just start chatting about your stuff. In the hallways of your last Tech SEO Connect, what's something surprising, an anecdote or a story or a project that you were like genuinely struck by?
Uh, I don't want to share. I'm not going to answer that. I don't want to share any detail. I got one in mind, but I'm like, no, because it might identify a person or company, so I'm not going to answer.
Fair enough.
I
For
will say there's tons of time for networking, though. There's tons of time. I think at one point we had tabs open at 3 different places. So there's a lot of bar talk. We have great food. It's a great time. Come out.
Fair enough. Keep your secrets. And if you want them, go to the conference. Actually, that's good advice in general if you're trying to grow in the SEO space as a career. Conferences are fantastic. But that does make me ask, kind of change topic a little bit. Let's talk about SEO as a career. You've been in-house as a product manager, been at an agency, done freelance, worked in-house on SEO. Kind of mirrors my own. I worked with Raven as product manager. I've been in-house freelance. Which one do you like the most? And what would you recommend right now if somebody's quote unquote considering getting into SEO? Which direction would you push them?
Uh, everything is different. I love my time at Ahrefs, honestly. Great company, great people, great product. Um, Other thing, agency can lead to burnout. Like it's a lot of hustle and deadlines and a lot of stuff going on. In-house is fun, but corporate and politics can be draining. Tons of meetings can be exhausting. Uh, Consulting has its own headaches too. Like I like the freedom, but then there's, contracts and business stuff and cash flow and all that. If I had to pick one, I really enjoyed Ahrefs, but like in-house, I think is usually better than agency. I think I will enjoy the freedom on on the freelance again. So it's really hard to just pick one. But it's really hard to like go freelance if you're not like well known, if you don't have leads, that kind of thing. So you kind of have to build up, and that's gonna bring me to the other question of, what should you do? And honestly, like if you're trying to grow your career, just be active in the community. Go to conferences, talk with people, go to local meetups if they exist in your area. They're kind of rare now. Um, but just go right. Like I for years was just kind of quiet and doing my own thing. I learned a lot once I started participating in the community, started writing, started sharing, started speaking. Um, I think that all made me a better SEO and all kind of led me into the position where I am. And it's a good position to be in.
Anywhere online, because I would say, SEO had a super strong hub on Twitter, and then there's a diaspora spreading out. So where are some of the different SEO communities where you've ended up and found not just the spam, not just the self promo, but the actual like back and forth and useful conversations?
Yeah, there are still like Slack groups. Noah Lerner runs the SEO community. That's the big one right now. I still enjoy Reddit. I mod tech SEO, so hopefully there's not too much like spam and nonsense there. But some of the others can be a little like messy, but still entertaining. uh, yeah, it's everything's split after Twitter went away. There's a good community, I think, on LinkedIn, of course. Still some on Twitter, some on, I guess, like Blue Sky and Threads. I don't know. I never actually joined either of those, but I know some people over there. Mastodon was a thing for a hot minute, but I feel like that's sort of dead. I could be wrong. Uh, yeah, it's fractured right now.
What do you think is the best practice for SEOs coming into the next year? Like, what are some mandatory things that if you're in the SEO niche, you've got to be doing this now?
I would say experimenting with AI. Just try and automate any task that you're repeating. I have been doing this kind of stuff for years because I have the development background. It was like 10 years ago, probably, I wrote like a redirect matching script because I was tired of just like, hey, this page should go over here, and like hours and hours or days and days sometimes. And I was doing a lot of website migrations, and I was like, come on, like there's got to be a better way. And I looked into machine learning stuff, and it's like, oh, like I can actually like match content on this page with like content on this page. And I'm like, oh, that's great. That's fantastic. So anything that, is taking too much of your time that you're having to do repeatedly, go just try and build a skill, try and improve it, try and get it to where it's good enough that you're like, I can trust that, or at least like 95% of the way there. It takes a lot of the burden off you. And go build stuff. Everyone's got ideas for tools. I have a friend that I was just talking with him over a beer the other day, and I was like, man, like you got to go like try like build a site, with Claude. Just you know. Use Astro, hosted on Cloudflare workers, etc. He's like, my wife has had this idea, and it was just, a history of like the restaurant grades, basically, because they're big foodies. So here's their sanitation scores over time, and he built it in like 25 minutes, and he was like, wow, like this is a huge unlock. And it's just, he had never tried to do it. He thought like, it's going to be so hard, it's going to be too difficult, he's not going to be able to do it. But really, it sounds like such BS, but like anyone can build anything at this point. Like that is a real thing. You have an idea and you're like, oh, I don't know how to do this. I was doing some stuff on my own website, and I was like, yeah, this is way beyond me for infrastructure and dev stuff and everything. And I'm like, hey, Claude, you just run me through this? And it's like, oh yeah, go here, change this, run this. I'm like, okay, it works. Or if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, what went wrong? What do I need to actually do? And it'll run you through it. It's amazing.
Claude Code, Claude Desktop, ChatGPT, Grok. Different tools, different functions. Which do you like? Which have you used? And anything special that you've kind of unlocked?
I've tried all of them. I go between, I would say, Claude and Gemini right now. Uh, for a while though, it was all like ChatGPT. uh, yeah, they kind of like surpass each other in certain things in the market. I end up using Gemini and Nano Banana specifically for images because Claude doesn't really do image generation. But also just for a lot of like general informational knowledge stuff. But I mostly use well, if I'm coding websites, a Claude Code for sure. I use Cowork actually a lot now for like the file access and everything, and just the regular chat also.
Um, I'm curious, what is the worst mistake that you've made using AI? What's something you did where you're like, oh, that was bad, or in retrospect, that could have been really bad, or you blew something up?
Yeah, all of the above. I've broken stuff like so many times, and I'm like, hey, like, how do I fix this? They're like, hey, can you like debug this? Um, but one was just like when I was first learning on, the limits and all. I was using the API, and I didn't know about like the caching or anything, and yeah, I ended up spending like way more than I should have to do some things.
What's the state of play in backlinks these days? Um, as important as ever, more important, or just a sidecar to best practice?
Yeah, well, I looked at this about a year ago with Ahrefs data, maybe a little more than that. Could be like a year and a half. And, the correlation with rankings went down overall compared to what we've seen traditionally. It was still high for certain things like local companies, and I forget what else at this point. But for like local SEO, they still mattered. I think it was more than we had seen in the past. I would say, for the AI search systems, they probably are not using this directly, but a lot of them are pulling rankings from like Google and Bing, who do still use them. So I'm gonna not say like they're not using them; they're using them in a roundabout way, I would say. But I wouldn't be surprised. The general trend I see in the industry is people are kind of going away from the links, and that means it's actually probably going to be more of a differentiator in the future as these systems start looking to say like what is a good result. Well, now they could look at the links and say now that they're more rare, the links actually matter more.
Hmm.
uh
It
so oh, go ahead.
No, I absolutely agree. As it gets less of that shiny object syndrome, as as the fewer outfits kind of can make their money, that ironically will flip it over to those that are still doing a good job on it. Not only are they going to get the traditional good Google results, but they have a potential of any of these LLM models could already be modeling, some sort of page rank algorithm. That patent's been out for so long it and anybody that's worked on LLM systems, knows that there's 25 different APIs available that give page rank type information. So, and with the amount of crawl that these LLM tools are dedicating to discover stuff, I mean, you guys at Ahrefs, you built your own index and built your own Google. So it's not out of the range of possibility for any of them to integrate PageRank directly, explicitly into LLMs. And it seems crazy to say, like, Gemini is sitting right there within Google. It's not that crazy to think that, some of the flags are scoring if they can if they can integrate it into the ranking systems of Google results. It's that much of a leap to say, hey, is the Gemini team going to have access to that same data that's being used? Yeah.
Yeah, and any of the like re-ranker models or any of the like, when you're choosing the citations, it's an easy data point to add. And even if it's not like a Google or Bing, these other systems probably already have some access to the data. Again, they may be building their own, but I think it's pretty common knowledge that a lot of them are pulling from Common Crawl and like they have their own version. The metrics are already there for the pages in the index.
One of the biggest things I always learned listening to your stuff, reading your articles, listening to you speak, is your depth of understanding of the actual architecture of Google itself. Could you break out a little bit of what you find is useful to know about Google's infrastructure and system, because that can help better inform your SEO decisions?
So I actually have a whole deck, like a How Search Works deck. I think it's on the Ahrefs slide share. Um, that was built after an internal like training. So when we were building yep.com, I was trying to like explain like this is what we know about Google systems, how they work and everything. That's all public knowledge and all. Uh, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. The web rendering system alone is kind of a complicated thing, but like, what are data sources? Pick something small. What are data sources for these systems? And most people will tell you sitemaps, right? Or crawling. Well, there's more. RSS feeds are a thing. Pinging the sites, the web hub, sub hub, what I think it's just web sub now. Um, there's a lot of different sources or ways of getting this information. And it's not that they're just going to like look at one or two things, submissions in GSC, the indexing API, well, supposedly for a couple types of content at least. Any given system that you think about, like there's a lot of like nuance and things, or like when are they storing stuff? What are they storing at each level? All that can have some really like interesting implications. The whole like re-ranking system, how all that works, is kind of fascinating, really. And a lot of that is just going to be like, okay, so you get retrieved, but maybe you don't actually end up ranking that well. And we see the same thing in the AI search system. So like, you get a bunch of pages, it might be like 90 pages retrieved, and then like 13 of them get cited or 30 of them get cited. Well, why were some retrieved and but not cited? And like that's a really good question to look into, and it's usually like you were relevant enough but like you didn't quite say the right thing or in the right way. It didn't measure quite as well against the result, and so someone else got cited for that, even though like you're in the ballpark. And it's kind of like the low-hanging fruit of the AI era is like you're there but you're not quite in that result set.
What do you think really is the role of the HCU within Google?
uh I mean, it's supposed to be helpful content, useful content. We They added the extra E and eat and everything. The experience, because a lot of people, SEOs in particular, were making a bunch of content about things that they don't really know about. They're not really the experts on. They're regurgitating what's out there, maybe making a slightly better page than what's out there because, you combine information from different pages. But if you're not the real expert, if you're not the one with those insights, if you're not the one doing the tests, I love like just the nerdiest, guys and gals in different niches that are just doing random tests on stuff. The project farms, the vacuum wars. There's a guy, I watch his stuff for car detailing, and like literally all he does is it's not even fully detailing. It's literally the pressure washers. And he's like, oh no, the flow on this is bad. Like replace this part with this and like do this. And he's just so hardcore about it. Like you could tell this guy really knows what he's talking about. And I think that's the kind of folks that they want to elevate. HCU hit a lot of sites, especially affiliates. It didn't hit all of them. When I always appreciate, I have a cat. Love, my wife is super into cats. Cats.com. They send off the food for like testing, lab testing to make sure it's safety, nutrition profile, like what's in there that shouldn't be, or does it have what it's supposed to have? Like that's the kind of level that you have to be like if you really want to succeed with this.
So is that on integration of writing style, showing off your expertise, taking the time to like include anecdotes? Because if you need a bullet point, quite frankly, you can just turn to, Claude. Claude's great at bullet points, terrible at anecdotes. And it certainly has no unique anecdotes. It can't have its own experiences. So does that come down to just writing style, or is it also, the other pain point that SEOs experience now is brand, and you have to establish this brand entity. So is it the additional of those two signals?
I don't think writing would get you, but so far, part of the thing that they mentioned, I think, with that update was images and videos that show like you've got hands on with this product that you're talking about, that you've got actual like knowledge of it, not you pulled the stock photo offline and from the manufacturer and then you wrote a bunch of stuff. Like that's the level that is going to get hit, that is not going to cut it. And I think some sites that actually were doing a good job got caught up in this. There was one that I think Sam O had done a video on of like this running shoe guy, and like the guy knew what he was talking about, like super knowledgeable. I thought his content was great, but his competitors were like cutting the shoe in half and stuff to like see the materials it was made out of and everything. And like, how do you compete with something like that? Like that is just, this guy was he obviously like went to the gym and everything and like knew exactly what he was talking about. He had real hands-on expertise and should not have been hit, I don't think. Um but compared to his competitors, he was still, I think, a level below where they were.
Hard to hear that, you want to rank better, but quite frankly, the other guys are better.
Yeah, and again, like I think is one that unfairly got caught up. There were a bunch of those. You saw some very public ones. HelloFresh. I think I just saw something that they're like back up with a massive increase. Like, yay! And yeah, Google I think went too far on a lot of the things. And hopefully they like rein it back in even more because there are a lot of deserving sites. Again, even someone, in my personal opinion, even someone that just aggregates the info better and makes a better website, better layout, like that is still a result I want.
Mm-hmm.
um, so I think yeah, their systems went a little too far,
Um,
a lot
is
too
there
far.
is there any question that I didn't ask that you hope that I would have asked? So
Honestly, I didn't know what you were gonna ask me. It's unscripted. I love it.
what's a challenge? What's an itch you're trying to scratch in the middle of your own back? If you can outsource a question or a challenge that you're trying to solve, what are you spending time trying to solve right now in SEO? And I'll ask the next guest and see if they want to take a poke at it.
I mean, my problem isn't really in SEO right now. It's getting used to the business stuff and contracts and all that stuff again. And it's just time consuming. All that stuff is kind of annoying to set up.
That's fair enough. So I mean, I've done a couple of really good interviews. I'll add them to the show notes. But maybe do a round table and gather together some different people to talk about just the business infrastructure. If you're becoming an SEO consultant, what are the best practices? Establishing, should you aim for, a monthly retainer? Should you ask for all of that up front? Do you peg your retainer to like an estimate of hours per month, or is it outcome based? Is there particular software that you use to align on that? Is there terms or terminology to add or to avoid when you're, getting that contract signed? What's the best process of walking your client through those expectations? And, what does expectation setting look like in SEO? So I think I'll
And
gather
what do
some
you write in
cowboys.
the contract? How do you handle the sales, the leads? Get rid of tire kickers. It's it's been a process.
I feel you. I definitely do as a long-term freelance contractor on and off over the years. I've definitely made some huge mistakes. The biggest one is, letting clients pay later. You got to at least get half up front, if not all of it up front. That was a painful lesson. But there's some others. I think I'll take this as a hint and put together a panel where we just talk about the mechanics of SEO consulting and best practices and put it all into one place.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'll watch that episode.
If people are interested in accessing your expertise, hiring you on to build something for them, build their brand, build their company, how can they connect with you and get started?
Right now, I would say message me on like LinkedIn. It's probably the easiest way. Otherwise, patrickstox.com is a work in progress, and you'll be able to contact me there. So,
Well, I appreciate you stopping by.
yeah, thanks for having me.